Welcome. This is the Candidates Forum for District 13 of the California State Assembly. The forum is being co-sponsored by the University of Pacific, Political Science Department, and the League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County. My name is Kathy Casnave, and I'm going to be the moderator tonight. Before we get started, I would like to remind you that the deadline for registering to vote is October 22nd. If you have a California driver's license or an ID card, you can now register online at the Secretary of State's website, and that is www.sos.ca.gov. I would now like to introduce our panelists for this evening. Daphne Shaw from the League of Women Voters of San Joaquin County, Dr. Keith Smith, political science professor at University of Pacific, and Tim Daly, the reporter for Channel 10 News. The first, we were going to have an opening statement, and the first candidate for the opening statement is Mr. Jafri.
Good evening. My name is Jafri, and I would like to thank League of Women Voters and the panelists and University of Pacific for inviting me on this forum. I'm very thankful to them. I am running for the State Assembly District 13. I'd like to tell you a little bit about my family. My wife, Dr. Jafri, she's a director at the county hospital. She went to USC for her master's in medicine. I have my daughter, that she's Mavish. She has done master's in public policies from USC. My other daughter is master's in psychology. She's in San Jose School Board. My son, Zafar, he's master's in International Affairs and Economics from Cambridge University, England, King's College. And my youngest son is here in UOP. We have a wonderful time. We have lived here 30 years. I'm a farmer. I'm an engineer, work with the state of California, and I'm a businessman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Eggman.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight. I often think one of the biggest issues that we face in our city and our country is apathy, and clearly that is not present in this crowd tonight, so thank you all very much for coming out. You know, there is no denying the difficulties that have faced Stockton and the San Joaquin County in this recession. We have been in the eye of the storm. And I've never been one who's been playing a cheerleader, right? I'm more of a third base person. Take those line drives as they come, take the balls as they come, and don't complain about what's coming, but just deal with the ball as it arrives. So I think it's also important to point out that despite the hole that we've been in, that good things have been happening. The port has been able to do the best year they've ever had. Agriculture just had their best year they've ever had, $2.4 billion worth of revenues. Job growth is up in the San Joaquin County, which is leading the state. These are good, positive things that are going on. These are the kinds of things that we need to capitalize. And this is why we need a strong, effective advocate who's had, been in the eye of the storm and been able to stand there and hold the ship steady as we were able to make very difficult decisions, but look forward with a plan, with a way to go, and go forward. And I'd like to be that advocate for you in Sacramento. Thank you.
Ms. Shaw, will you please direct your first question to Ms. Eggman?
The high cost of medical care insurance has had a major negative impact on the economy, especially at our local governmental levels. Studies done in California over the last few years indicate that a single-payer health plan would save money on health care insurance. What is your stance on a single-payer health plan in California?
First, I'd like to talk very briefly to acknowledge what you said about the difficulties that municipal governments face in having to try to provide health care in this incredibly expensive economy. I served in the United States military, which to me is like single payer at its finest, universal health care at its finest, and was able to see what happens when flies fly at you, when people are able to have access. And I'm a strong supporter in a universal plan. I don't know that the state is the best place to do it because I don't know that we have the capacity to be able to do it at this time. I would love to see it happen on a national level. I think Medicare, I think the VA, I think are all examples of great single-payer healthcare plans. We need to have a scale of economy so you can truly make it work and truly be effective. But we certainly need leadership both at the state level and at the national level for people who have a real understanding. I've said I've spent my lifetime working in the healthcare field. A real understanding of what the importance of access is and what the importance of containing costs are. And I think The President's plan coming forward is going to be really important in providing increased care, in providing better results, and being able to reduce cost. Those are the three things we need to focus on. If we can do that in a single payer to the state level, I support it, but I really think it needs to happen at a national level in order for it to truly be effective and let us join the rest of the countries who have a single payer plan.
Mr. Jafri.
See, I know the first-hand knowledge because my wife, being a medical director at the county hospital, I know how people are misusing the system. If there is a basic medicine, basic disease, they call the ambulance, and they end up in the emergency room, where the taxpayer end up a huge amount of, they pay the taxes which is going toward the medical cost. But I would suggest that we have every corner clinic, which is faith-based clinics and federal government-funded clinics. We have clinics presently on the Weber Street, which is federally funded. We have 3 in here, which is federally funded, 1 in Tracy, and another one is in Galt. So in the future, what I would suggest, like Oregon plan, they have 300 diseases, which are the basic diseases, which are treated at the clinical level. Like we have a public health system, public health clinic, most of the people go to county health services. If you could create more clinics where the people will go on their basic preventive medicine and they can be taken care of that instead of emergency medical care. Because now the way the things are is very expensive when they go to the emergency room. So what I suggest, there are, in Los Angeles, there is a few faith-based clinics, volunteers by the doctors and the medical students. Same in San Bernardino, there's a clinic there, Shafa Med, which is run by the faith-based organizations.
Thank you. Dr. Smith, please direct your first question to Mr. Jafri.
At a time when college education is increasingly important in American society, the state's support for higher education continues to decline. For example, last year the governor proposed cutting significantly Cal Grants for students who attend private nonprofit universities like Pacific. What would you do in office to ensure that students have access to the quality higher education that they need today?
See, I've put my 4 children through higher education, and they have gone to the public schools, then they went to the private universities. Costs have gone up during these 10, 15 years that I've been with and my youngest son being in UOP, and know how the cost is. In Southern California, University of Riverside, they gave 100,000 visas to different countries. They went to India, the mayor went to India, and he made a contract with the Andhra University and with the Tata company, and brings 100,000 visas, give 100,000 visa, each student brings $10,000 when they come here. Their countries pay the student fee. That's what I suggest, that in Stockton, we bring UOP, I brought some private students from different countries. Every student, when they come here, the government, they sponsor them. So we have a best pharmacy program, we have a best dental program. So what we do, we should bring more students all over the world and finance our university campuses and finance our education. It's very difficult to tax people, they are already burdened. Nobody wanted to pay in the education. So we are in a global economy. We are used to be number 6 economy in the world, now we are number 9th economy. We have the best education system in the world. We should sell our education system overseas and bring students from all over the world and finance our education system. And I can help that. I travel around the world many, many times in a year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Eggman.
Thank you. As a proud product of the public education system and as a professor at Cal State Sacramento, I don't think education should go to the highest bidder. I don't think education should be able to go to someone who's able to pay for it with money from another country that might not have the same guiding principles that we do. I think our education system should be for us here. We will never grow our economy if we don't continue to invest in education both at the primary as well as the college level. I was just met with Humphreys today, who was also talking to me about their issues with Cal Grants and how things are going to be impacted just because the budget has shrunk so much. I think we must make education our #1 issue because it is directly tied to economics. And we need to partly do that by job growth, because we can't continue to grow the pie bigger if the pie doesn't grow. Everyone's piece gets smaller just by definition. If you think about a pie, it shrinks, everyone's piece is smaller. But we must find a way to be able to pay to Cal Grants. Because of the budget crunch, public universities can no longer guarantee somebody they're going to graduate in 4 years. That means we need to partner with our private, nonprofit educational systems to be able to say, if we can't get them through, can you? Because the bottom line is not which university does it, but it's that it gets done, and that we continue to be able to compete with the world, because we have an educated work class, an educated workforce, in order to be innovative and to take this country to the next level, and to continue to set California on the economy back to being the 6th largest economy in the world and not just the 8th.
Thank you. Mr. Daly, please direct your question first to Ms. Eggman.
You belong to quite an exclusive club. If my math is correct, you're one of just 6 people to put the largest city in the country into bankruptcy court. That's got to be a tough sell as you're now campaigning to move on to the next level. So how do you tell people that was the right move? Your opponent says that you led the city into bankruptcy, you've laid off cops and wasted millions of tax dollars for development. Like I say, that's a tough sell.
Well, I mean, I'll just start by saying it's a tough sell, but I did win 40% of the vote in a 5-person race, so there's that. I think the majority of voting people understand that when your bills exceed your income, that you must make structural changes. Because if we cut, over the last 3 years, we cut over $90 million out of a budget. There's only so much that a city can continue to cut and call itself a thriving city. At some point, you've got to say enough is enough. We cannot continue to cut our way out of this crisis. And so we sought which was an incredibly difficult decision. There's not anything, I mean, I took office in 2007, and in 2008, the bottom fell out of the world as we know it. So almost my entire tenure has been about making incredibly difficult decisions. But I've never thought about making decisions for an individual. It's about making decisions for the good of the whole. And I think when this economy begins to recover, Stockton will be on the forefront, because we will have our fiscal house in order. We will be restructured in a way that we're going to be competitive. We're going to be able to hire back people. We're already hiring police as fast as we can right now. So while people want to criticize, until you've actually sat in that seat and had to make decisions and had to actually look people in the eye and say, I'm sorry we have to close the library, I'm sorry we have to close the community center, I'm sorry police can't get there right away, and say, there's nothing I can do but just keep on cutting, at some point you have to say, enough is enough. Wall Street helped cause this. Now Wall Street's got to come to the table and help us fix this problem.
Mr. Jafri.
See, this is the worst news. I was out of country when I heard in the world news came, the city in USA, leading economy in the world, city has gone bankrupt. I ran for the mayor of the city in '96, and I had a plan. I wanted to bring in many industries in the Bay Area. Doing business in Bay Area was expensive. So at that time, the city mayor at that time who got elected was Gary Podesto. So he had the priorities that he wanted to do different things, not to bring industry here to create the jobs. Now our city has gone bankrupt. The police services have been cut, fire services have been cut, libraries have been shut down, parks have been shut down. Now the police services have been cut. Now where do we go? The city has become like a war zone. People are killing each other, 51 deaths already. People are not staying here. I'm living in Lincoln West. There it was a nice, clean place. Every day there's a robbery there. So we feel that the city council has led us. We gave them the time. They failed us. Their record shows that they are not capable, they are not educated, they have no vision, they have no experience. All these things brings them together to fail the city. It's not easy in one day to fail the city. City has failed in the bad decision, bad investments, bad people who have not cared about the investments. They have been more interested in their own getting their, my opponent has, if you see the people who contributed in the campaign funds, are the same financial institutions who are coming to foreclose on us.
Thank you. Ms. Shah, please direct your question first to Mr. Jafri.
There are said to be 350 fracking wells for oil shale throughout California, but the number is unknown because California does not require companies to reveal the number or locations of these wells. Would you support strong regulations or bills to require this reporting, as well as information regarding the chemicals in use to protect the state's water supply and to make sure the public's right to know is protected?
It is very important to get this disclosed. I have a 40 acres on the east of Stockton. Chevron has the water rights. They have the rights underground minerals. But I don't know what metal or what gases are underneath. So it's very important that it should be disclosed to the people who own the land there. So most of the wells which are there and what is coming out of it, any gases, sometimes there's a sulfur gases, sometimes there are cyanide, there is a lot of gases which comes out of that. I worked on some of the wells with the state of California and Bottle Rock, where the steam was coming out, but the steam was bringing a lot of other arsenics, which was dangerous for the health. So that time they were not disclosing, but later on they had to disclose all the materials coming, all the chemicals coming out of the ground. I would suggest that if I'm there, we would have a regulation, very strong regulation for the health of the public, that we disclose all the materials, all the gases coming out of the ground to the people to protect their life and health.
Ms. Eggman?
Yes, I would support strong regulation and the public's right to know. I don't think it's enough just to have the landowner know what might be happening. I think there's always those issues of people who live downstream and a lot of unintended consequences that there's not enough science on this yet. It's much like the Perfil Canal, right? They're putting the plan before the science that goes along with it. I think we still need a vigorous debate in this. I think states that it's really proliferated. I think they've seen the consequences of that. And I would stand firm in protecting California's environment and economy to say, yeah, we need clean, safe ways to be able to extract from the ground, but we don't need to do that at the cost of the environment and people's lives based on groundwater and air that comes from that.
Dr. Smith, your next question is first to Ms. Eggman.
One of the enduring challenges in California politics is balancing city needs and local needs and state needs. And there have been a lot of controversies over what money is due to cities, what money is due to the state. Where would you draw the line? What protections would you give to local municipalities and counties to avoid money grabs from the state?
Well, first I think we have to find ways to balance the state budget without taking from local municipalities. I mean, the dissolution of the redevelopment agency is just a great example. City of Stockton just got another bill for about $6 million because of a new recalculation that they've done. So number one, I would highly oppose anything that tries to balance the state's budget on the backs of local municipalities. 80% of people live in cities. And I don't think people get that image when they're trying to balance the state budget, that every decision they're making that puts things, to frack it on down, goes right down into where 80% of the population lives. So I would draw things on, I would hold the line on not passing bills that have costs that are not funded. We do a whole lot of that. I would hold the line on not taking from our local educational systems. We are 47th in how much we pay per child for an education in this entire country. That's intolerable. And I would also not only hold the line on what we don't take, but be able to have something that says that the cities who have the highest degree of crime and violence and the highest degree of need should have a little bit more help. We've been begging the CHP to send officers down to help us be able to police the streets. But because they say, well, we don't have enough, it's hard, it's hard to make it all go around. So I think it's important to say, not only will we not balance the budget on the backs of municipalities, but we'll continue to make education a priority through action, and we'll continue to make action a priority through saying that cities who have the most need should have the most resources.
Mr. Jafri?
Yeah, I strongly believe that the state should balance the budget. They are depending on Proposition 30 to put taxes on, to get money for the education. In case proposition fails, then there'll be a lot of other disaster. Education will be the first thing to be affected. I would suggest that we cut down on the wastage in the state, where it's on the parks. We found out a lot of money being wasted on the parks and recreations. They had the furloughs on the state employees. They cut down on the services in the DMV. These services are needed also. But coming back to city and county, They should be self-sufficient. I will give you example of city of Riverside. I stayed there for a few years. Ron Loveridge, city of Riverside was rundown city. 10 years ago, Ron Loveridge, who's an economist in the UCR, University of Riverside, he turned around the city. There was a redevelopment projects on the University Avenue. He brought international students there, made their hostels there. He put a shopping center and a mall there. And now they are bringing back millions of dollars in revenue to fund the city. So it's a wise decision that you make. It's like any other investment you make. For your personal investment, where you think that this is the right investment, it will bring the revenue back, it will service the debt. So that is the thing that I would like, being in a state, bring some federally funded and state-funded programs. Thank you.
The next question is from Mr. Daly for Mr. Jafri first.
There's incredible frustration from people in this state over how state government works. So many decisions seem along party lines. Could you be that person that votes against your party if you felt that particular bill or law deep down was good for your community? Could you be that person that pushes that vote in which you're going to anger that entire party?
I have worked for the state of California, and I know how state works. There are a number of things I don't agree with my party, and I would like to convince them to going on that. See, on a water issue, because most of the Californians, most of the legislators are from the Southern California. On a California water issue, California canal, that I strongly oppose it, but I not oppose the canal, but I oppose the water being sent down south. I worked at the Delta pumping plant, and there I see our water level being pumped from the ground, and the water level is going down. So time will come when the water level will go down. I changed my pumps from 90 feet to 120 feet. Our aquifer has gone so low that there's a danger of seawater intrusion into our aquifer. So for that, we need to have a service water, which will be from Sacramento River and San Joaquin River. But we don't have any water rights on this. When the canal was built, we never had contribution in the funding of the canal. We never contributed in the construction of the canal. So we have no water rights. The canal, through the tunnel or the way present situation is, we are not getting a drop of water from the canal. So my priority would be, being a farmer, to get the surface water here from San Joaquin River and from the Sacramento River. That is very important for our future generation, for our future agriculture products here, which we are doing here in San Joaquin County. So I can stand up against the other party members and have a voice there.
Thank you. Ms. Eggman.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, I can. I think I've proved that. I am a Democrat. I am a strong labor Democrat, and I had to stand up to labor and to say, I'm sorry, I have to make these incredibly painful decisions, which came at a huge cost to me. But at the end of the day, my responsibility is not to a party. My responsibility is not to a special interest. At the end of the day, my responsibility is to all the people who elect me to serve them in this office. Like Dr. Smith, I'm a tenured professor. I don't need this job. I have something to go back to. My dedication is to serve. And so I will do that with the most independence and the most passion that I can for Stockton and San Joaquin County. That's the sole reason I'm running, is to be able to bring that forth. I'll also say that I think I have demonstrated a really good ability to work across the aisle, under the aisle, around the aisle, wherever I need to work, to be able to bring some consensus together about things so that we can move forward in a more positive manner. And I think that's what people get upset about, not being able to say no to your party, but being able to say, you know what, let's get out of our corners and come somewhere into the middle so we can make decisions for the good of the whole. It's not the extreme of either of our sides that really, I think, represent the majority of the people who live and depend upon us. Depend upon us not to just pay attention to special interests, but depend upon us to have them first in every decision we make. And that has always been my commitment and my service, and that will continue to be my commitment.
Thank you. It's now time for the closing statements, and Ms. Eggman, you are first.
It seems so soon. So I'll say, I am not an unknown commodity to anybody. I have served, this is my sixth, almost seventh year on the Stockton City Council. I have lived a life of service. I started out as a product of the K through 12 education system here in the Valley. I served 4 years in the United States military. I worked my entire way through and got my bachelor's, my master's, and my PhD. I worked in substance abuse and mental health. I'm now a professor at Sacramento State. I worked in hospice, and I find that you learn a whole lot about living when you sit with people when they're dying. Nobody wants to make more money. People want to know their life has made some kind of impact. People want to know that their living meant something. And I have found that people need ways to latch on. People want to help. People want to get involved in their community. But if we don't provide them avenues to do that, then they're left feeling helpless. And that's the worst kind of way I think that we can serve, is to let people feel helpless when there's so much that they can be doing. I have served as a chairperson of the Board of El Concilio. I serve on the Delta Protection Commission. We didn't talk about water, but it's a huge passion of mine. I don't think anybody's an expert on water, but I've been 6 years in the trenches on it. I serve on the UOPs Beyond Our Gates. I have served on the Library and Literacy Foundation. We had a homicide in my park, and it is devastating, the level of violence that we're experiencing. But I called a community meeting, and we had 350 people out within a matter of a couple days. We have park walks, we have neighborhood watches, we have porch parties. Letting people know ways that they can make a difference in their own lives and their own community, I think, is the most valuable thing that we can do. That is my commitment that I will continue to do. I think this story has a narrative that has not been told. I think we need strong, effective advocates to be able to go to Sacramento and tell our story, to be able to have the attention that I think we deserve. We're going to come out of this, this recession stronger than anybody else. And at the end of the day, politics is about a process. It's a process about people working with people, for people. And your job is just decide who do you want to work for you in Sacramento. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jafri, please hold your applause. It's Mr. Jafri's turn now.
See, I would say that the record of my opponent speaks for itself.
Me too.
You know where we were and where we are today. Our people are suffering. All of you who live here in Stockton, you must have seen the change that we have gone through. The city has gone bankrupt, the services have been cut down, the property values have gone down. People are moving out of the city, and we have no jobs here. We have no police services here. The libraries are being shut down. Our youth is on the streets. There is no people are on the streets. I've seen a lot of people sleeping on the streets, and they're homeless. The city has failed to have a partnership with private community centers, faith-based community centers, to feed these people. There are certain community centers that they give free food. Like the Sikh community, 30 days they give free food to anybody who comes to their door. Muslim community in Ramadan gives 30 days free food whoever comes to their door. They give shelter also. Now, they have failed to partnership with the private partnership for the benefit of our residents. Now, making city go bankrupt and making the world headlines is something that we should be ashamed of. Most of the countries where the minister or elected person fails to perform duty, like in England, there was a train accident, the minister resigned. The city council is not that thinking that we have failed, we should resign and let other people come and serve the community. The community should tell them that enough is enough. You have done what you could do it. If you're not done in 4 years, what will you do in next 2 years or 4 years? Now, these people who are failed our city and county, do you think they need to have a second chance in Sacramento? They will do the same thing, what service they have done us here. I've been with the service, I've been with the community for the last 30 years. I'm a farmer, I'm a businessman, I've shipped hundreds of tons of wheat and potato from here, I've shipped almonds and walnuts from here. I'm an international trade.
Thank you.
And please consider me for giving vote. I'll be your better representation in Sacramento. Thank you.
Why don't we give both the candidates a round of applause, and thank you both for coming here.